Swami Chidananda, it is with love and reverence that we welcome you here today and thank you for joining us and speaking to us about yoga and your love of yoga. It was about 13 years ago that I first found out about the organization with Swami Shivananda through my teacher, Swami Vishnu Devananda, and it is with great joy that I have the honor of sharing your darshan, your teachings as well. Would you be so kind as to tell us how you became involved with Swami Shivananda and his teachings?
I became involved with Swamiji's teachings and Swamiji's message in a very funny way. I was a young student at that time, about 16 years. That was way back in 1932. And as you know, students like funny magazines. And in our city of Madras on the east coast of South India, we had a magazine called the My Magazine, full of jokes and humor, skits and little articles. So I got a copy just to page through. At the end of this My Magazine, of all magazines, most unlikely place, there used to be one page of spiritual teachings, spiritual lessons by Swami Shivananda. So I just glanced through it, and something in the way in which he wrote, it was as though he was speaking to me. And from that time onward, I started purchasing this magazine just for that one page and started reading it. And then I got into correspondence with Swamiji, and when I knew his books were being published, that was in 1934, I started reading his literature. I was high school at the time. That is all.
So here today in 1990, you are celebrating your 75th birthday. Obviously, you've been involved with the Shivananda organization for a long time. Would you share with us your message with the Shivananda organization?
Yes, quite a long time. And birthday is being celebrated by beloved friends, not myself so much. And actually that's what I'm doing here, sharing Master's message for present day mankind throughout the North American continent. His message was a message of the deeper meaning and the higher purpose of human life. He came to give a call to mankind to remind us that we are not merely earth creatures only, that our life did not end in death, but that we have come here with a higher divine destiny to fulfill. And as has been said, be ye also perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. There is divine perfection inherent in man, because man's innermost self, not his earth identity, not his physical and psychological personality, but his true essential nature is a part of God, without birth, without death. He wanted us to awaken to this fact, to this truth, and live in the awareness of this truth, so that in this world, in our life, we brought out through our thoughts and words and actions this beauty of this higher quality of divinity. So his message was, oh man, wake up. You are divine. You are a child of God. Potentially you are divine. Therefore, make not this life merely a prosaic purpose of eating, drinking, sleeping, and one day closing your eyes. But while you are doing this on the secular outer side, be active and progressive upon the inner spiritual side too. Therefore, wake up, realize your real nature, purify yourself, and awaken the slumbering divinity within, unfold it through proper practices, and make your life filled with this divine quality, so that this life becomes a blessing to you and a hundredfold blessings to everyone else who you are living, so that you express through your life and actions divine love, divine compassion, divine goodness, all that we expect in God. We have inherent in us the potential for that. So his message in brief was a call to wake up to your real nature, a call to divinity, a call to divinize your life, and a call to make yourself a center of love, peace, happiness to everyone.
Thank you. You have been to the United States, coming from the Divine Life Society in Rishikesh, India, I understand, many times. What brings you here this time to the United States?
All right. First visit was in 1959. And the first person I visited upon that visit was Yoga Guru Swami Vishnudevananda, who was teaching at that time in New York. That was in November of 1959, and he happens to be my spiritual brother. Both of us are disciples of beloved and worshipful Master Swami Shivananda. This occasion, however, I am here specifically in response to the loving invitation extended by Sita Frankel of Maryland, who is the founder and director of the Yoga Sadhana Mandir. That means the temple or shrine of spiritual discipline and practice. And she wanted me to come and give a spiritual retreat, a couple of spiritual retreats to her circle of students and devotees and spiritual seekers, and also an ongoing teaching program for about 3 or 4 weeks. So I am here. I came here on the 9th, and we had a spiritual retreat from the 13th to the 16th, Thursday evening to Sunday. And from the 17th onward, we are now engaged in this ongoing longer period of the main theme is the philosophy and teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. The program is going on here from the 17th and go on till the 14th of October.
Swamiji, I understand that there are also people here from all over the world. And speaking of all over the world, we see today barriers coming down between countries at the same time that barriers are still there in countries such as Iraq and Kuwait. And I was wondering if you would share with us what yoga has to say about involvement with politics and human rights and equality.
Yoga has nothing to do with politics. It's purely a spiritual field where it tries to encourage the human individual to ennoble his or her life by opening up a higher dimension of one's being, where there are no negative qualities. On the contrary, the resolution of all negative qualities and the losing out of all that is auspicious, beautiful, blessed, and positive is there. And so it is essentially a science of inner culture of the individual, so as to ennoble one's life and make one an ideal human individual and human society, a good neighbor to his neighbor, a good son to his father, a good husband to his wife, or a good wife to her husband, in this way. But so far as a question of barriers come, indirectly, the yoga philosophy is something that makes it quite plain that these barriers are artificial barriers created by man, maybe through selfishness, maybe through greed, or maybe through ignorance, maybe through rank foolishness, because ultimately all life is one. There is one common consciousness, call it the spirit, call it God, that is the common factor in the deepest depths of all living beings, and it is the unity within this apparently seeming diversity. And yoga makes us aware of that. And so yoga is a philosophy which has behind it, is something that has within it the potential to unify man in a spiritual oneness, despite outer physical and other differences. Therefore, it is a unifying force. It is a force that tends to brotherhood, mutual tolerance, mutual love, and a desire to help one another. But so far as politics is concerned, yoga has no association with politics. It is a universal science of spiritual awakening and spiritual living.
You speak, Swamiji, also about yoga helps teach us to become a good spouse, a good son, a good daughter, a good neighbor. One of the things that we are hearing so much about that is coming to surface these days are issues of child abuse, spousal abuse, a lot of anger and rage being expressed on people. Is it expected that when someone abuses you, whether it's a spouse or a father or a parent abusing a child, that if they say, "I'm sorry," are we supposed to just forgive them? Or should, as some of the current teachings say, we learn to work with our anger and our rage over the things that were done to us as children?
In your specific position, in the context of where you are, at any given instance, whatever is your duty at that particular moment, you have to do. But regarding the traumas of previous abuse, which they come to surface and they fill you with hatred towards someone or all these things, if such a phenomenon is there, yoga tries to sublimate this. Of course, they have to come to the surface. It's no use keeping them bottled up and trying to suffer them, and you work them out, you bring them out. But yoga has a method by which, when it comes to the surface, you are able to transcend it. You don't have to try to come to terms with it or think in terms of now what should be my reaction when I have seen this. Should it be one of resentment or should it be one of forgive and forget? On the contrary, yoga gives you an insight, and when these deep inner things surface, we begin to look at it in a different way. We look at it through an eye of compassion. We look at it, this was done to me by such and such a person due to the person's ignorance. Therefore, pray to the Lord that he did not know what he was doing. And therefore, one rises into a subliminal height of seeing the thing through different eyes, the yogic eyes or the philosophical eyes, and then completely sublimating it, transcending it altogether. So it is no more there. But if you are a social worker, you are faced with such a problem or such a situation with someone else, you have to be bothered about it, you have to be angry, and you have to take the necessary action, need be against some person or other. So it depends. If it's yourself, you have to work it out, bring it to the surface and transcend it, sublimate it, forget about it. Know yourself to be greater and bigger than anything that happens to you. You are beyond it. But if it is something you are dealing with the life of someone else, placed as you are, you may have to do your duty by according to your relationship in that entire situation.
That sounds like a wonderful way to help overcome anger and rage and grief. And you mentioned that yoga has a method to help us do this. What is the method that would help us learn to transcend our anger and our grief and our rage?
Anger is in a certain level of your being. All these different emotions, resentment, the feeling of strong feeling of wanting to get even or pay back, and anger, the yogi gradually comes to a certain recognition that he has several levels of being. There is a physical level, there is an inner vital level, and there is a mental and intellectual level which they call the psyche, and the sum totality of all moods, emotions and feelings whatsoever are phenomenon or manifestations upon this level or this dimension, the mental intellectual, and they are manifesting there. And the yoga science, the yoga philosophy gradually brings the practitioner into an awareness that in his essential nature he is something even beyond that. He is told, you are not this cage of flesh and bones, you are not this little vital life force, you are not the mind and its manifestation, you are not even this little limited intellect, but you are an unborn eternal spark of divinity. You are a pure center of spiritual consciousness, radiant the quality of divinity. And in that level of your being, nothing can touch you. There is neither question of anger or rage or resentment. It is all peace, joy, light and fullness. So the yogi identifies oneself with his real nature, his unalienable, unchanging, essential nature, and from that ground, when these things come up, he just takes a look as a pure, detached witness. He says, there is anger, but I am not angry. There is resentment, but I have no resentment. It cannot touch me, it cannot affect me. It is not in me. It is in some part of me which I am temporarily having in order to play this drama of life upon this earth stage, but I am always above it, beyond it, absolutely different from it and distinct from it. So he practices the basing himself or basing his or her consciousness, yogi consciousness, upon the level of one's essential spiritual nature and is not touched by any of the tumultuous changes that take place in the intellect, which once upon a time were devastating one, because they are completely identified, involved in a state of identity. But now he knows better from that angle, unperturbed. Whatever happens in the mind and the intellect, the entire range of emotions and upheavals, the yogi is fantastic. He just looks detached witness, not affected. So when his ego is, I is withdrawn from that, it cannot remain. It appears, soon it subsides and goes away. So he is liberated.
Another question that comes to my mind might be a little inappropriate to ask you as a Swami, being as you have taken vows of celibacy. But for those of us who haven't taken vows of celibacy, who have husbands or whatever our relationships are, and speaking for myself personally, one of the things that I have found is that in the practice of yoga, as you mentioned, I start to awaken. And in this awakening, some of the things that come up for me are sexual desires or sexual energy. What does yoga have to say about living a life of practice and study of yoga and simultaneously having a life of sexual enjoyment?
The yoga as it is taught nowadays in the
I'm
context
sorry,
of
I'm going to have to stop. Can you put your answer on the next?
Did you get the question?
Yeah, the question is fine.
Just takes a, I'm not sure what that means.
Important question.
yes, there is chastity laid down as one of the conditions in the practice of yoga, and it is not something that only monastics who are already in the of chastity practice, yoga is the culture of tomorrow. It is a science of inner unfoldment that is expected to be practiced by all people in all walks of life who are desirous of this inner unfoldment. Therefore, if it happens to be that one who is drawn towards yoga and is practicing yoga happens to be a householder, a married man with a partner and duties towards the partner upon the physical level in terms of sex, etc., then the science of yoga would require that they exercise a rational moderation in their relationship, sex relationship. Because ultimately, you see, the whole of yoga is a process of stopping unnecessary wastage of whatever energy potential in gross and subtle form that is part of our personality, our human nature, and trying to, through moderation, to self-restraint, conserving this energy, and then this conserved energy is given a higher direction towards subtler processes of inner unfoldment upon the mental, ethical, intellectual, and the psychical level. And this concerned energy, in order to be applied upon these higher dimensions of one's being, has to be transmitted into a subtler, form. That is precisely what some of the techniques of yoga achieve. The gross sex energy is converted and transmuted into a subtler energy. And this energy becomes the thing for concentration and meditation. And this gross energy, when transmuted into a subtler energy, also strengthens the willpower. And therefore you are able to stick to a strict, normal and ethical life. And in the context of a householder's life, this energy that is conserved and preserved, and it is also applied in yoga for this higher, and this energy being precious, therefore, there is a wise understanding of the precious value of this gross energy, sex energy. Therefore, it is not squandered or treated as overindulgence in sex. And in the context of a marital life, chastity, which is enjoined in the practice of yoga, would mean not only a wise, rational moderation in their sex life with mutual feelings, but also it would mean a strict loyalty, mutual reciprocal loyalty of the husband to the wife, wife to the husband. Therefore, yoga wouldn't countenance any extramarital intentions on the part of either one of the partners. Therefore, sex purity, fidelity, and a rational moderation, they sum up the definition of chastity in yoga for those who are in the household of married life.
Well, if I may carry that just a little bit further, Swamiji, I remember reading the autobiography of a yogi, and Yogananda mentioned that his parents had a sexual relationship once a month. And so when you speak of moderation, many people would want to know exactly what is moderate. I think, again, speaking personally, I don't think my husband would think once a month was moderate.
You think it is too little, or would you think it is immoderate?
I think he would think it was too little.
You know, this raises the question of an entire culture, and one's understanding of what exactly sex is and how one views sex, what your cultural genius views sex as. In the context of Eastern culture, especially Indian culture, and especially Hindu culture, the sex force in the human individual was regarded as something very, very sacred. It was regarded as a part of the divine force that has brought this universe into being. that is keeping the solar, stellar and other systems in their proper course. That great energy, that cosmic force, it is immanent in all nature, expresses itself through each and every form of life, and it inheres in the human being as intelligence, power of intelligence, strength of the muscles, and as the sex energy. And the principle, the main objective with which this sex energy has been put into living beings is for the perpetuation of the species, continuity of life of each species through reproduction. Therefore, its entire very reason for its existence, for this endowment of the power that brought living beings into existence, is reproduction, with a view to see that the species does not become extinct. So as this process and this function, it pervades all life, all creatures. Even plants and flowers have got this built-in mechanism of perpetuating themselves through pollination, etc., and seed dispersal, etc. And so it is so in man, and therefore it is regarded as a sacred function, a sacred power given to man in order to see that the lineage, the species is perpetuated. And just as the Bible says, go forth and multiply, and as the Hindu pantheon would say, Brahma is the creator, he created this being, and he wanted these beings to carry further his work on his behalf through a reverential use of this power of reproduction. So sex is primarily a built-in mechanism of the biology for reproduction. Then you see, if this function has to be exercised, if it was very unpleasant, painful, no one would exercise it. So that species will become extinct. In order to see that the function for which it was put in was exercised and continuity of species was kept up, a little pleasurable sensation was also accompanying, put together with it, so that it will be exercised. But now, if the sacred function of reproduction was now given the lesser importance, and the whole focus became upon the pleasure principle in sex, then you have completely lost the point, missed the point. And so you become more a hedonistic indulger in sex, instead of a cooperator with the creator in doing this creative function for the perpetuation of the species. So this is therefore the entire ritual of nuptials after the marriage ceremony is over was something very sacred. It was a sacrament according to Vedic sacraments in the religious life of the individuals, and it was reverentially approached and done with a feeling of great purity and sanctity, and the offspring thereof, therefore, were children who were influenced by this prenatal attitude of reverence and purity and sanctity by the parents. And if now merely for the sake of indulging and satisfying your carnal passion, you go headlong into sex, children are just passion products. They are just offshoots of your desire for sense satisfaction, and so they also grow into uncontrollably sexual children and create problems, and so you start a chain reaction of a new generation with sex drive so strong that indulgence becomes their main outlook, and restraint becomes even a dream. They never think in terms of it. The word restraint and moderation should be inseparably bound together with sex, and the sanctity of sex should be recognized, and it should be thus given a place of a very high and serious nature. It's not merely for enjoyment. If that approach is there, even once in 2 months also would not be regarded with disfavor. And Master in one place has said, gradually practice moderation and lessen the indulgence. And if you are having once a week, make it once a month, and gradually once in 6 months, gradually once in a year, unto total abstinence. This is what he has written in one of his teachings. Therefore, man is supposed to be more a master of himself than beast. Even in beasts, they have a strict biological cycle for their mating season. They don't indulge all the 12 months. Why man should be the only species to make a fool of oneself and become a total bankrupt in self-restraint? It doesn't stand to reason. If one can give sex instructions in this angle to the younger generation, they will get a healthy respect for the sacred nature of the sex force, and the whole approach to it would change.
Speaking of animals, Swamiji, yoga advocates, I know I have certainly learned from studying with Swami Vishnu Devananda that a vegetarian diet is extremely important to make progress in yoga. Is there a relationship between vegetarian diet and non-injury to animals and all of the issues that are involved right now with not harming animals in relationship to testing on animals, not killing of animals?
Also, vegetarian diet has a great relevance and importance, firstly from the angle of what you have just now mentioned, the kindness to animals and not killing them, not harming animals. Because one of the spiritual and ethical basis and reason for vegetarian diet is that we have no right to take life, and as much as we cannot give life. If you can revive a dead say animal back to life, then okay, you can take life. We cannot give life, therefore we have no right to take life. Secondly, no matter how humble a creature, ultimately it is related to us in terms of brother. We are all one global family of, call it God, call it as supreme, universal soul, of that being who is the parent of all created living creatures. So we may be elder brothers, superior brothers, then all the more responsible that we become keepers of the protectors of the younger brothers, lesser brothers. Therefore, from the point of view of creation, the overall, all living beings on earth form one great global family. Animals are brothers. Therefore, from this point of view, compassion and kindness will be a protection for animals, will be the natural and normal thing for an evolved human individual to exercise in his relationship with animals. Compassion is the highest virtue. Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, they all laud compassion as one of the highest virtues human beings are capable of, and also highest of righteousness, dharma. Secondly, the vegetarian diet is something which has got a direct relevance with your past question, previous question on sex, because the yogis have made a study of all things in this universe, and they have intuitively realized and experienced that they fall under three broad classifications or categories. One category is that which makes the gross thing grosser, more uncouth, more vegetarian gross. There is one quality which is neutral. It is neither bad nor good, but whatever direction it takes, it becomes bad or good. And it is dynamism. It is restlessness, dynamism. The third quality is a very subtle, refined quality which has an ascending dimension, ascending movement. It ennobles, it uplifts. So it takes one higher upon the scale of evolution and progress. And from this insight, when they made a study of the various foodstuffs, they found the animal diet is a very gross quality. Makes tents for graspas, makes the person angry. Vegetarian diet is sattvic, they call it sattvic. It makes one pure, subtle, and helps sublime emotions, sublime ideas. Therefore, it also helps you to control sex. It makes the sex urge a little less and subtle, and you are able to control it easier, and it purifies your heart, brings a new vision towards things, and engenders kindness and compassion. From both these points, that it is conducive to spiritual progress, and it also enables you to refrain from harm and injury to your own fellow creatures. Vegetarian diet is a yoga.
Swamiji, this yoga stuff for many people sounds like it requires too much discipline because they're not ready to become a vegetarian, or they're not ready to give up a active sex life or whatever is going on in their life. And a lot of people want to know, well, if I decide to study yoga, where do I fit in enthusiasm, exuberance, joy, and having fun? Is there a place for that in yoga?
Why this question? I have a lot of fun all my yoga life. I have never been a glum, castor faced person. You know what is this? You must understand that yoga is an enriching dimension, an enriching factor. You are having a life of the normal average life of fun, enjoying movies, enjoying a picnic, occasional picnic and outing, enjoying your family, your children. Okay, it's all right. As long as you do, yes, as long as you don't do anything to harm yourself or harm others by overindulgence in anything, even in eating and drinking. And yoga comes as a plus to enhance the value of your life and enrich it by a hitherto absent new dimension, which brings a new light into your life. And when it comes naturally, anything good has a price tag. And so, if nothing comes for something doesn't come for nothing. And therefore, yoga has its own rules. And if you are already eating meat and having sex and having a nice time, when yoga comes in, if you cannot 100% fulfill all the disciplines of yoga, start by applying some of them. If you are eating meat 3 times a day and 7 days in a week, at least try to knock off this meat for breakfast and have it once, or lessen the quantity, then lessen the number of times. And same with anything which doesn't seem to harmonize with yoga. Yoga doesn't want you to overnight become like a monastic or a hermit or austere, no. Therefore, bring in yoga. It is better to have it, not to have it stop. Therefore, bring it, and then all the disciplines that are there. See, if you go into the army, you have got certain rules and disciplines. You may be getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning. If you go into the army, you have to get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock. Those who have been for the 2 years of service, So, nothing is there without some discipline attached to it. If you are learning ballet, your daughter has to give up chocolates and all that thing and keep a slim, trim figure. If one wants to train for some league game or Olympic games, or train for some boxing title, he very voluntarily and willingly takes upon himself lots of disciplines, lots of restraints, lots of rules and regulations. Why this question only when it comes to yoga? Okay? Therefore, if you are prepared to put yourself under lots of discipline for a boxing title or a sports medal or a ballet, expertise and all that, for yoga also, that is, I suppose, reasonable to expect some change.
Well, you were,
We have to stop just a second. Get the last.
what happened?
Another take.
Oh, another tape already?
See, I am that's about it. That is,
Good.
no, it's for the public. Long question and answer sessions. And naturally, many questions are put there one elaborate what is called clarification. So, when I give answers, I see to it that it doesn't leave any more answers.
Good.
Any more questions?
That's very good.
Service, did you want to ask a pretty good from the last one? Because we already indicated that. That's why I think
There's question and answer sessions.
When this would be on camera? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, then you.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
And then they decide the date.
Could be a month or less than that. Could be a month, could be less. Depends on the response. So after editing.
So how long will it take to get here?
What?
How long will it take for this to air?
To air, about 2 months.
2 months.
Would you have a copy?
Should be airing in November. Late November. Oh, yeah.
John.
When they're ready.
Ready? Tell me when you're ready.
Just a second, please.
What is the system? When you speak, he focuses on me. When I speak, he focuses on me.
No, he's not focusing on me, he's just focusing on you. And then earlier, he taped me and asking questions, so when we edit it, he can decide whether he wants to focus on me with asking a question.
Anytime.
Swamiji, pardon me, I did not mean to intend that you are not a fun person. You are anything else but glum, and we all love you very much. But I would also like to know if you'd be willing to share with us exactly what you do to have fun.
I poke fun at others. I love children and have a lot of fun with them. Children, behave like them. And also look at the funny side of all things and have a good laugh. And sometimes I laugh at myself.
Good.
And this is a secret. Don't tell it to anyone.
Don't tell this to anybody.
I read joke books.
I won't ask what kind.
No, the right kind.
The right kind.
Which I can relate to anyone in a decent gathering house. This is the right kind.
You mentioned the importance of ballet as is yoga, a discipline, and I understand from my studies of yoga that it is important to do yoga at certain times of the day. Do you feel that it is necessary to do yoga at certain times of the day, or can you fit your yoga in any time when you can during the day?
Actually, it should be done at certain specific times in the day itself. It's not to be done at any time, but of course, you cannot at all do it in the proper time, and you have your compelled due to your lifestyle or your situation to fit it whenever you can. Well, one could just tolerate it, but yoga is to be practiced first thing in the morning, after your shower and bath, before breakfast, before you have taken anything, with a minimum of half an hour's interval after the conclusion of the yoga course and your breakfast, minimum half an hour. And at the end of each session of yoga, personal yoga practice at home, comes a minimum of 5 to 10 minutes of total relaxation, which is also included in yoga. They have what is known as Sava Asana. Asana means a posture. Sava Asana means the dead man's pose. You like flat on legs stretched and totally relaxed from the top of your head to the tip of your toenails and your fingernails. You relax the entire body, all the muscles, nerves, everything, all the muscles of the body. In that state, you must remain in a state of total relaxation, restfulness, and peace. This is the necessary gap after the yoga practice and starting of activity and taking of breakfast. Yoga is always to be done on an empty stomach. Yoga is always to be done immediately after a bath, not before, without taking a shower. And always it should be the first thing to open the day with. Second occasion is the last thing. After, supposing you have a 10-hour session, your work or job or shop or profession, whatever it is, service, when you come back, you have to relax for a little while. If you cannot take a second bath, at least wash yourself. Then you must reverentially do this yoga, thinking that to each posture you are paying homage or obeisance to the all-pervading spirit, the ever-present spirit. And then after each asana, going, and so the yoga is done very, very gradually. And after that, you can have your supper after an hour's interval or half an hour's interval. So before breakfast, the first thing in the morning, before supper, more or less the last thing in the evening, that is the proper time to practice yoga, because it is a sacred thing and it's also not to be practiced with food in the stomach. Food in the stomach is totally incompatible with yoga. It should be done on an empty stomach. And in natural experience, common practice, the session in the evening is more effective, because when you wake up from sleep in bed in the morning, you see the body is still stiff and the bending postures don't easily come. But yet, nevertheless, you must do your first session in the morning. But throughout the day, you have been active, the circulation has been quickened, the whole body is comparatively much more supple in the evening than in the morning. So the poses come very easily and you enjoy yoga exercise. It reinvigorates you. So from that point of view, it is more effective in point of the various bending, twisting, flexing poses. And so therefore for both these benefits, one session morning, one session evening, one before breakfast, one before supper or dinner, with a minimum of half an hour's gap. That is the ideal time to practice, not at all or any time.
Swamiji, many people, especially in the West, who practice yoga, come to yoga as an exercise and practice only the asanas, and for whatever their own personal reasons are, they are not interested in the chanting of the mantras, the meditation. In fact, some people say that the asanas themselves are to them their meditation. Do you believe that it is perfectly fine to practice yoga in this way? And if so, could you expound on that a little bit?
In the West, it's perfectly all right. It is not compulsory that they should also take to the chantings and other things, etc. It is not compulsory. That's my view. And I think it's not the incorrect view. It's not the wrong view. Because in the West, we are in a society which follows various faiths and various religions. There are Catholic, Roman Catholics, Christians, there are Protestants, there are Jews, and there are people following other faiths. And why should you expect them also to try to adopt certain practices like chanting, etc., which is totally of another context, another religious context altogether. It is Hindu. So it is not necessary that they should bring these things into their faith. But if they have a love for it, spontaneously, they want to do it, they are not welcome to do it. But they are not obliged to do this. But so far as meditation is concerned, to think of meditation as a Hindu technique is very short-sighted and not correct. Meditation is a common, universal inner technique by which alone the individual ultimately makes a living spiritual contact with the universe, human with the divine spirit. And therefore, meditation is something that anyone can practice. But if they have no inclination to practice, one should not at all force it upon them. A time will come when they have a spontaneous inclination, then that is the right time for them to practice. So yoga without meditation, without chanting, so far as the Western context is concerned, to my view is perfectly okay. Perfectly all right.
You mentioned at the beginning that your message is the message of your master, Swami Shivananda. Would you be willing to share with us maybe just one little story about you and your relationship with Swami Shivananda?
There were so many stories, and Master passed on in 1963, 27 years ago, and so I don't know what particular story. I can give you a book which I wrote a year after I met and joined the Master. I joined him in 1943, May of 43, and within a year I was observing, I was keenly observant. I wanted to know what exactly his life is, what he does, how he speaks, what his behavior, and I even wanted to study through the observing of his actions, how his mind works. And so I did enter into this practice, and then the outcome was a book which I wrote in 1944, 1 year after coming. It's called The Light Fountain. And I have copies of that I should give to you. But one incident that comes to me is that two incidents I will tell you. Once Master gave shelter to a psychologically highly disturbed young man who had come all the way from southern India. He had lost his peace of mind, could not sleep, was obsessed by various fearful ideas and things. Master said, okay, come, remain here, you don't have to do anything, take bath if the pain is, go and sit in the temple, eat, sleep. Somehow or other, this man was too far gone. See? I don't want to tell you the background. And so he was not able to take full advantage of the atmosphere, the environment, the hospitality the Master gave to him. So things did not improve. And after a few months had passed, this man became very, very resentful against the Master. He thought this man is not doing anything to improve, whereas he was not allowing himself to be improved. But he got this perverse thing. I came to when he has not made me all right. He has not. So he started a hatred, obsession against Master. And one fine December night, when Master was sitting in the prayer, evening prayer group, this man managed somehow or other to get an axe, sneaked in from outside the veranda. It was a cold December night, and everyone was under blankets. There was no electricity at that time, and he suddenly burst into the room and attacked the Master with an axe. The Master was sitting against the wall, there was a window behind him. Somehow or other, because of winter, that day, Master was having, he was bald-headed, therefore he had a turban to protect himself from the cold. And it so happened that turban saved him. It was a big turban, and so the axe handle caught the turban, axe went and hit the window, shattered a picture that was hanging there, and then by that time all got up and lighted a lamp. He was caught. And unfortunately, some of the younger disciples belabored him also. He was heard to shout outside the land. They dragged him outside the land. When Master heard the shouting, he came out. Stop, 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 what are you doing? And then afterwards he said, what have you done? See, he's hurt, wound, see that wounds are And so in the night he was kept there, but without Master's knowledge, they took him to the local police station, which happened to be just within walking distance. In the morning, Master inquired about him. Master was slightly injured, not much hurt. Inquired about him. Has he spent a restful night? How is he? I have found that you have beaten. There, someone told him he has been sent to the police lockup. Master was very much upset. Who told you to do that? What does it matter? Why should we give him to the police? So, after breakfast, he said, take me to the police station. He went to the police station himself, and I was watching it, curious. This was in 1949. And when he started to go to the police station, he told one of his attendants, bring a plate with some flowers and some sandal paste. These are all ingredients we use in a worship in a temple. Mr. He just obeyed. He went there. Master, of course, was a tall, imposing figure. And when he told the officer in charge, I want to see this man, the officer could not say no. He just took the master inside. I was there, and the man's face was swollen and he was feeling very dejected. Master called him by name and said, so what is it, why did you have to do this? Well, look what your condition is now. So, okay, do not worry. And then he offered some flowers, put a flower garland leaves over him, and took some sandal paste and said, I worship adore the God in you. And now, what do you want? What would you like to do? Would you like to continue to stay here? Are you, at least now has the resentment gone? He said, I'd like to go home. Then he called someone and said, get a ticket for him. You also traveled with him, and whatever his hometown is, that he is left there. And so he brought him out, and the officer was speechless. He could not say, no, you cannot take her, but they had not made any report. Therefore, he was just under law in an informal way. So he was taken up and made to take a bath, and a new dress was given to him, sent to the railway station, and they were sent back home. The higher authorities, when they came to know, were very annoyed with the police officer, and he was in fear. Master said, tell them that no fault of his own. I did not want to register the case. This was my experience with the Master. Wonderful story.
Swamiji, I would like to present to you a book that I have written with my thanks to you for speaking with us
Most
today.
welcome.
This is my beginning of yoga and the spiritual path, and I feel very strongly that that book would not have happened, and I know very strongly that that book would not have happened were it not for my involvement with the Shivananda organization. I would also like to thank you for being here with us today and ask you if there is anything else that you would like to share with us in conclusion.
Yeah, I like to share the universal prayer in a little song. And I appreciate this gift very much. And what is more, I like this title, beautiful title, which is the truth. God is now here. Yes. Summing up Master's teachings, he said, body has been given to you to be useful to God's creation. Therefore, lovingly serve all, benefit all, serve all. And then love God and His creatures, love. Hand, serve, heart, love. And mind, meditate. Direct the mind towards God, meditate. Intellect, inquire, reason, analyze, investigate, try to find out the reality behind passing appearance. So his teachings are summed up in these 4 words: serve, love, meditate, realize. And while you are upon this noble path of illumination and unfoldment, what should be your foundation? There is truthfulness, purity of conduct and character, compassion and kindness towards all creatures. Truth, purity, compassion, non-violence, non-injury. And he used to say, this is Yoga Vedanta in a nutshell. And he liked to break into song sometimes. And the way he did it was, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize, be good, do good, be kind, be compassionate. Practice ahimsa, satyam and brahmacharya. This is the foundation of Yoga and Vedanta. What are these? Practice non-injury, truth and chastity. This is the foundation of Yoga and Vedanta. Inquire, who am I? Know thyself and be free. Inquire, who am I? Know thyself and be free. You are not this body, not this mind. Immortal self you are. You are not this body, not this mind. Immortal Atman. Radiant Atman. Realize this and be free. This was his Yoga Vedanta, his divine life message in a nutshell. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Be good, do good, be kind, be compassionate. The universal prayer which any person, any human being all over the globe can recite. Adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent and omniscient. Thou art existence, consciousness and bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptations and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, greed, hatred, anger and jealousy. Fill our heart with divine virtues. Let us behold Thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve Thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember Thee. Let us ever sing Thy glories. Let Thy name be ever upon our lips. Let us abide in Thee forever and ever. Let us abide in Thee forever and ever. Amen. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace. Peace unto all beings in this universe. Peace be unto you. The joy of the Lord. God bless you.
Thank you, Swami Chidananda.